The 85 Canons of the Holy and Renowned Apostles, together with an interpretation of them in the common dialect of modern Greek, translated into English. Canon 71 to 75. Canon 71. If any Christian conveys oil to a temple of heathen, or to a synagogue of Jews, in their festivals, or lights lamps for them, let him be excommunicated. App. CC. 7, 65, 70, C11 of the 6th, CC. 29, 37, 38 of Laodicea, and CC Lix, 82, and Xi of Carthage. Interpretation. This canon too, like the one above, excommunicates any Christian that should offer oil to a temple of heathen or of idolaters, or to a synagogue of Jews, when they are having their festivals, or should light their lamps. For in doing this he appears to believe that their false ceremonies and rites are true, and that their tainted mysteries are genuine. Read also the interpretation of App. C7. Canon 72. If any clergyman, or layman, takes a wax candle or any oil from the Holy Church, let him be excommunicated and be compelled to give back what he took, together with a fifth part of its value to boot. App. C73, C. X of the first and second, C8 of Nyssa. Interpretation. The present canon further prescribes that if any clergyman or layman should take from the church a candle or oil, and use it for any unsacred and common purpose, let him be excommunicated. And after he returns them to the same church from which he took them, intact and undamaged, just as he took them, let him give them to it together with 1/5 of their value. But Aristinus has interpreted it to mean fivefold. So that according to him the canon says that the one guilty of sacrilege in having taken a candle or some oil shall return what he took and 5 times as much in addition thereto. And Joseph the Egyptian, who paraphrased the canons in Arabic, rendered the Greek word epipampton as fivefold, instead of a fifth more. Nevertheless, the explanation given first in this interpretation is better and preferable. For the word epipampton or epidecaton, i.e., a tithe, of the fruits, which the Jews used to give to their priests, is mentioned in many parts of the Holy Bible and means not fivefold or tenfold, but 1 in 5 or 10. That is why Anonymous the anonymous interpreter of the canons interpreted the word by simply repeating it as found in the canon. Concord. Canon X of the First and Second Council says that those clergymen who pilfer or who convert to unsacred use or service any of the sacred vessels and vestments that are kept in the holy bema, or that part of the church which is commonly called the sanctuary in ordinary English, are completely deposed from their rank. For to use these in any unsacred service is to profane them, and, on the other hand, to steal them is sacrilege. As for those who convert to an unsacred use or service, either of themselves or of others, any sacred vessels or vestments outside the holy bema, these persons according to App. C73 are to be excommunicated, and we join in excommunicating him too. But as for anyone that steals them outright from the temple, we make him liable to the penalty provided for sacrilegists. The penalty for sacrilege, according to c. 8 of Nyssa, as far as concerns the Old Testament was not any lighter than that penalty which was attached to murder. Since both a murderer and a sacrilegist incurred the same punishment of stoning to death, as appears from the example of Ashara son of Carmi, 1 Quran 2-7. But in virtue of ecclesiastical custom there came to prevail a mitigation, and accordingly sacrilege is penalized even less severely than adultery. Pope Boniface V says, however, that sacrilege is sought at all times to be anathematized. Canon 73. Let no one appropriate any longer for his own use any golden or silver vessel that has been sanctified, or any cloth, for it is unlawful to do so. If anyone be caught in the act, let him be punished with excommunication. App. C72, C. X of the first and second, C8 of Nyssa. Interpretation. This canon too, like the one above, prohibits the promiscuous use of sacred things, by ordaining the following. Let no one take or use for his own service any gold or silver vessels, or any chasuble or vestments that are sanctified and consecrated to God. Because the taking of them itself and the use of them is something odious to God and actually unlawful. But if anyone should be caught doing this, let him undergo excommunication as the penalty. But what punishment is meted out by God to man who profaned things consecrated to him and who put them to common use has been shown best of all by Belshazzar, or Baltasar, the king, Dan. 5-1, who on account of his having profaned the gold and silver vessels which his father Nebuchadnezzar purloined from the temple of God which stood in Jerusalem, by having them used for the drinking of wine both by himself and by the grandees of his kingdom, and by his concubines and wives, Dan. 5:23, in that same night in which he did this, he was slain and his kingdom was divided among the Medes and Persians. Pope Stephen, according to Platina, or Bartolomeo de Sacchi, says that not even a priest may wear the sacred vestments for non-ecclesiastical purposes. Read also the interpretation of the above app. C72. Canon 74. When a bishop has been accused of something by trustworthy men, he must be summoned by bishops, and if he answers and confesses, or is found guilty, let the penalty be fixed. But if when summoned he refuses to obey, let him be summoned a second time by sending 2 bishops to him. If even then he refuses to obey, let him be summoned a third time, 2 bishops again being sent to him. But if even then he shows contempt and fails to answer, let the synod decide the matter against him in whatever way seems best. so that it may not seem that he is getting the benefit by evading a trial. C. Via the 2nd, cc. 9, 17, 21 of the 4th, cc. 14, 15 of Antioch, c4 of Saracen, cc. 8, 12, 16, 27, 96, cv, xi, xvi, 6 of Carthage, and c. 9 of Theophilus. Interpretation. The accusation brought against the bishop and mentioned in the present canon is not one involving a financial matter, that is to say, not anything of a private nature and calling for personal blame, as, for instance, that a man has been unjustly treated by the bishop or that he has been greedily victimized, as Balsamon has incorrectly interpreted it, but, on the contrary, it is one involving an ecclesiastical matter such as might be expected to imperil his rank. But how can this be determined? By the trustworthy men whom the canon produces as accusers. For men bringing charges against a bishop on account of financial claims or personal grievances are not examined as to whether they are orthodox or are misbelievers, nor as to whether they are under suspicion or above suspicion, that is to say, thoroughly trustworthy, but, on the contrary, no matter what sort of persons they may be, they are entitled to have their charges sifted, according to c. Via the 2nd, and cc. 8 and 27 of Carthage. But as for those who accuse him on ecclesiastical grounds and in regard to ecclesiastical matters must be both orthodox and above suspicion, or trustworthy, or else they are not admissible as accusers, according to the same canons. That is why Zonaras too appears to agree with such an acceptation of this canon. So what the canon means is simply this: if any bishop should be accused by trustworthy and unaccused men of any ecclesiastical crime, he must be summoned to trial by the other bishops. Then if he appears and confesses of his own accord that the accusation is true, or, though he deny it, it is proved by indisputable evidence offered by his accusers that he is guilty of such a charge, then it shall be determined by the bishops what penalty he ought to bear. If, on the other hand, he be summoned and refuse to appear for trial, let 2 bishops be sent to him and let them summon him a second time. If he again refuses to appear, let 2 bishops be sent to him once more, and let them summon him a third time. If even for a third time he scorns the summons and refuses to go, henceforward let the synod of bishops decide the case against him even in his absence and decree whatever it deems just and right and lawful penalties, lest he consider that he is gaining any benefit by such tactics and avoiding trial and postponing the time. Concord. Canon 27 of Carthage adds that the synod of bishops ought to send the accused bishop letters of request, and if within a space of 1 month he does not appear, he is to be excluded from communion. Or if he prove the necessary business prevented his appearing for trial, he is to be allowed another month's time. After the 2nd month has passed without his appearing for trial, he is to be excluded from communion until he proves himself innocent of the crime with which he is charged. But Balsamon says that the 3 summons which the canon requires to be served upon the accused bishop are to be spaced 30 days apart, so that if the accused bishop fails to appear for trial before the synod within a period of 3 months, he is thereafter to be condemned at an ex parte hearing. Accordingly, in the days of the holy apostles, on account of the fact that there were no patriarchates as yet, 2 bishops had to be sent to summon a bishop. But nowadays it is sufficient if he is notified, and this fact is verified by the patriarchal notaries. According to cc. 12 and xi of Carthage, 12 bishops are required to try a bishop, 6 to try a presbyter, 3 to try a deacon, in their own metropolitan and bishop. If, however, by consent, they appoint umpires, or chosen judges, even though the latter be less in number than the number ordained, they shall have no right of appeal, according to cc. 16 and cv and xi of the same council. If, on the other hand, any bishop promised at first to let his case be tried by the bishops, but afterwards refuses to consent to this, he is to be excluded from communion. Nevertheless, until his case has been finally disposed of, according to c. 96 of the same council, he is to be deprived of his episcopate. If anyone accuses a bishop, the case is to be tried first before the bishops of the synod of the province in question. But if this synod is unable to handle the case, let the trial be held by a larger synod of the diocese, in accordance with c. Via the 1st. But if anyone has a case to be tried with a metropolitan, let him apply either to the exarch of the diocese or to the Patriarch of Constantinople, according to cc. 9 and 17 of the 4th. If when the bishop is tried some of the bishops of the province are in favor of acquitting him while others insist upon condemning him, let the metropolitan call other bishops from nearby districts and let them decide the case, according to c. 14 of Antioch. But if all the bishops of the province unanimously arrive at one and the same decision against the accused, let the one thus condemned not be tried any more by other, according to c. 15 of the same council. But c. 4 of Sardican ordains that if the deposed bishop who has been tried by neighboring bishops claims to have a new defense, no one else is to be ordained in his stead until a better investigation has been made. But that men who accuse bishops and clergymen of criminal offenses must be men above suspicion and orthodox is decreed more especially by c. 5 of Carthage, which states that slaves or even freedmen are not acceptable as accusers of clergymen against their own lords, nor are mimes and buffoons or any persons that are infamous, and in general all those who are inadmissible as accusers in the case of civil laws. Moreover, c. 6 of the same c. says, when anyone has charged a clergyman with a number of crimes, if he be unable to prove the first crime, let him not be accepted any longer with respect to the rest of his charges as credible. But neither are those who are still under excommunication admissible as accusers, according to c. 5 of the same council. But if such persons are inadmissible as accusers of clergymen, still more are they inadmissible as against bishops. In addition, C21 of the 4th says that the reputation of those accusing bishops and clergymen ought to be investigated, and C9 of Theophilus says the same thing too. See also the interpretation of C. via the 2nd, and that of C9 of the 4th. Canon 75. As a witness against a bishop no heretic shall be accepted, but neither shall one faithful alone, for every charge shall be established by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, Dut. 17-6, Matt. 18:16. C2 of the 1st, C. XL of Carthage, C9 of Theophilus, Dut. 17-6. Interpretation. Not only must those accusing a bishop not be heretics, as we said above, but neither must those bearing witness against him. Neither is any one person alone admissible as a witness against a bishop. That is why the present canon says that no heretic shall be allowed to give testimony against a bishop. Nor shall a single orthodox and faithful one be allowed to stand alone as a witness against a bishop. Because it is written in the old law, that by the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every doubtful word and charge shall be examined and verified. Concord. The great St. Paul says the same things especially in writing to Timothy, against an elder, i.e., a presbyter, receive no accusation unless it be supported by 2 or 3 witnesses, 1 Tim. 5:19. Canon CXL of Carthage ordains that if any persons are inadmissible as accusers they are inadmissible also as witnesses. But neither are those persons admissible as witnesses who are brought in by an accuser from his own home, which is the same as saying, the relatives of the accuser, and his intimates and those who are subject to his authority. Neither ought anyone's testimony to be admitted in evidence when he is under age, less than 14 years old, according to the same canon of Carthage, although, on the other hand, ch. 20 of Title the 1st of Book 21 says that anyone under the age of 20 is disqualified as a witness in court. The first Hecum. C. In its C. 2 commands that if a bishop or presbyter be convicted of any sin by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses, he must be ousted from the clergy. Moreover, C9 of Theophilus ordains that if any clergyman accused of fornication be proved guilty of this crime by the testimony of credible witnesses, he shall be ousted from the clergy. Canon 38 of Carthage says that if an accuser cannot bring witness from the district of the one accused, on account of some fear, the court is to be held nearer to that locality so that witnesses may easily attend it. Canon 68 says for clergymen not to be haled into court against their will to give testimony. A single witness is never to be believed at any time, even though he be a great man, or a dignitary, or a senator, according to Title 9, ch. 2, of the Nomicon of Photius. See also Amp. C. 74.